Mission Control, you clicked the video. Who is this guy, right? There isn't much known about who all works at DRG above the dwarves, other than this one guy. He isn't as mysterious of a figure as Carl, who I've covered previously, I'm sure you know, because that video has a couple views. But regardless, there isn't much known about this dimly lit green picture of a dude. Who is he? What does he do? Do the dwarves like him? These questions and more will be answered in the sequence. I just listed them because, well, I wrote this video and now I'm reading it out, and afterwards I'm gonna edit a video around it and stuff, and you're watching it now. Okay, bye.
Good job on the promotion.
Who is Mission Control? Most of the stuff you can say about Mission Control as a person is pretty upfront and obvious, but I'll run through it quick anyway just for the sake of covering the full picture. The guy works for DRG. Seems like he's been there a while because he's pretty accustomed to dwarven antics. He seems pretty fed up with it, honestly, and that's fair. If I had to deal with something like this, I would be too. He's kind of grumpy, just a big old grumpy guy, very direct and to the point. Occasionally I'd say he comes off rude, especially when you leave uplinks on salvage. He does not like when you do that.
Go lie
The worst part of him by far though is his distaste for classic dwarven traditions like pinging mushrooms in gold. It's pretty lame if we're being honest.
We're rich! We're rich!
Yes, you're rich. Kindly get a move on. Got management breathing down my neck here.
From there, it's left pretty unclear who this guy is, to the point where it isn't even confirmed if he's a dwarf. Can you imagine if the whole time he was a human? What if all of DRG is humans other than the dwarves working on the planet? I mean, that would be wild stuff. Why would that? There's no way that's true, right? Right? Or maybe Mission Control is something else more sinister. Maybe something that we'll go into later in this video. This is a hook. It's so you'll watch my whole video because it took a while to make it, and I would want you to do that. Like and subscribe. Thank you. Oh, also, to hop out of the in-game stuff for a second, the voice of Mission Control is a guy at Ghost Ship named Robert, and Robert's one of the founders of Ghost Ship, and he's also the art director of DRG. Super cool guy. He does a great job as Mission Control, so everyone say, hey, Robert, you're a cool guy in the comments. Love you, Robert. Keep it up. Keep on keeping on. That's what they say, right? What does Mission Control do? There are a variety of jobs in this role, the primary one being the person who controls missions. Who would have known that was the case? I had no idea. It's more complex than that though. This includes sending resupplies, other mission-related things like fuel cells on salvage, Axion sabotage, cleaning pods for all the lithophage stuff. You get the idea. He's also responsible for extraction, which includes the mission objectives, and also the dwarves come along for the ride too. Outside of shooting useful stuff at the planet, he also provides verbal guidance to anyone on Hoxies, with some brief descriptions of the missions at hand. Some of which actually aren't brief, and they kind of drive me nuts, but hey, it's a nice gesture, I appreciate it. His words are particularly useful for swarm warnings. Anytime a bout of big bugs is coming your way, he'll make sure to tell you.
Big swarm detected. Lock up and get ready.
Not everything he has to do is cool though. He's got some lame manager stuff to deal with, like I mentioned previously. He tells dwarves not to kick barrels around, which statistically has no effect on dwarves kicking barrels around. Here's a graph. He apparently hates when dwarves dance, which is so lame. Like, come on, man. Can't you see this guy's having a good time? Just let him get his groove on. Look at him go. I'm sure there's more that he deals with. I probably get some emails. I don't know what kind of emails you'd get in that position, but you can imagine that there's emails. Do the dwarves like Mission Control? Maybe just a little. I'm sure they appreciate what he does. He's got a pretty important role in the mission being successful, though it is significantly less dangerous than running around in the bug zone. I could see some distaste in that. Kinda got a nicer job than them, gets to just sit on the rig. I'd say the dwarves don't really like him, but they tolerate him because they gotta. I mean, they did make a mask of this guy and call it scary. They're probably not big fans of him. Does Mission Control like the dwarves? On the other side of the coin, Mission Control obviously wants them to like not die and stuff, which I think comes from some morals, but also it is his job to make sure they don't die. but he definitely does not like being dwarven daycare. Imagine being able to see what all of these dwarves, like hundreds of them, are doing at once. I feel like it'd be like playing The Sims, but having absolutely no control. I'd probably go crazy doing something like that. Like, what is this guy doing? He shouldn't be doing it, but he is. He's doing it. What are you gonna do about it? Probably nothing. That being said, Mission Control shows some genuine sincerity when congratulating dwarves who promoted. I'd say it's pretty heartfelt for a guy who's this stubborn.
I'm proud of you. You've done well for yourself since you joined the company. I recall you joining off as a scrawny greenbeard and figured you'd join the dead down in the deeps in short order. However, consider my position changed.
He definitely doesn't hate the dwarves and he's rooting for them, but, you know, he finds them annoying for sure. Now we're gonna move out of the general questions and move into a couple theories. It's speculated that Mission Control used to be one of the dwarves running missions on Hoxie's. This isn't confirmed anywhere, but he does know quite a bit about the whole operation. This could come from previous experience mining, or just from years of being Mission Control. He knows quite a bit about the weapons, he'll talk about it when you unlock them. Seems a bit fond of the M1000, calling it a good choice. Other than that, he shows some concern for things like the breach cutter, the plasma charger, not a big fan of the weird techie stuff. He also makes a funny pun about the voltaic SMG and instantly regrets it, which is pretty cool.
Weapon license upgraded. The voltaic SMG, also known as the Stubby, can be purchased from the equipment terminal. I'm told it is shockingly good.
He seems like he's more of a fan of the old school weapons and not a huge fan of the newer stuff. I wouldn't put this theory out of question. I do think that Mission Control is a dwarf though, regardless of him previously mining on Hoxie's. The same can't really be said for the management at DRG. Specifically referring to this section on the DRG website where the phrasing of this all comes off like people who work higher up at DRG don't have to be dwarves. I messaged Jacob at Ghost Ship Games about this. I asked about Mission Control being a dwarf or if management is dwarves, and he responded, "It's implied that Deep Rock Galactic hires dwarves to do the mining that only dwarves can do. I guess any other position could be filled by anyone, dwarf or not. Even the description of Leaf Lovers says it's entirely there to please management. They could be elves, which is a dwarf's nightmare." We're gonna move from more plausible theories to weirder, out there ideas. Some believe that Mission Control could be artificial intelligence or pre-recorded messages being played back. The artificial intelligence theory would explain why he's so aware of what's happening at all times on the rig. Kind of like System Shock, except not a murderous psycho and just a guy who doesn't want you to kick stuff. Both the AI and the pre-recorded theories would explain why he's able to juggle so many missions happening at the same time. I mean, that's a lot of resupplies and drop pods and all the stuff he's got to deal with at once. It'd be pretty difficult to keep up with that as one person. I think the main thing driving this theory is that the voice lines start to repeat pretty early on. He often says the same thing at the start of missions or during promotions, feeding into the idea that this isn't a real person each time. This is just one of those things that could either be a limitation of the game or a purposeful decision. In my opinion, it's just a limitation. I don't think it was intentional to make Mission Control repeat often and seem like pre-recorded messages or an artificial intelligence. Especially if you consider the narrated trailers, it's pretty apparent that this is like a real dude and not just an AI or a soundboard of angry responses. It's a really cool theory though. I like stuff like this. It's cool to kind of mess with ideas and think about what could be possible. I hope this video could be a useful collection of knowledge on a mysterious character in DRG, the information we have about him, and some theories surrounding his presence in the game. Mission Control may or may not be a huge fan of the dwarves, but the players are quite attached to this character, being one of the most referenced and joked about parts of the game in the community. He is a guiding voice for assignments, missions, the tutorial, and more. He brings a lot of personality, and as of Season 3 has a total of 828 voice lines in the game. I thought I'd end this video with a section where I just showcase people's favorite Mission Control voice lines. I asked my patrons as well as Twitter followers what their favorites were, and so I'm just gonna put those up on the screen for the end of this video. If you wanna participate in any questions that I'm gonna ask my community, you can do so through Patreon and Twitter, links in the description. Thank you so much for watching this video. Rock and Stone.